This was where his struggles began, but it wouldn't be where they ended. He had made his decision. He was going to improve his life, step by step. And for the first time in a long time, he felt hopeful about what was to come. With his decision made, he knew the next step was crucial, figuring out how to make his money work for him. Having cash hidden under the floor wasn't a long-term solution. If he wanted to secure his future, he needed to find smart ways to invest without drawing unwanted attention. System provided valuable suggestions that matched his current financial situation. Stocks, real estate, small businesses. There were so many options, but he had to be careful. One wrong move could ruin everything. He started with something simple: buying and reselling valuable items. The system highlighted collectibles and limited edition products that were in demand. With careful research, he purchased a few items online, ones he could resell later at a higher price. It wasn't a big risk, but it was a smart way to start without attracting suspicion. Next, he looked into real estate. Instead of dreaming about luxury apartments, he focused on practical investments, small, affordable properties in developing areas. This system helped him identify locations with potential growth, guiding him on what to look for. After weeks of searching, he found a modest property that fit his budget, something he could rent out for passive income. But he knew he couldn't rush things. He took his time, carefully analyzing every move. The system provided financial advice, helping him understand concepts like long-term returns and low-risk investments. Every decision had to be calculated and precise. He also considered investing in himself. Education had always been a struggle, but now he had the resources to improve his skills. Enrolling in online courses related to business and finance seemed like a smart investment. If he could understand the world of money better, he could make wiser choices in the future. Despite his progress, he remained cautious. He made sure not to deposit large amounts of cash into his bank account all at once, avoiding any red flags. Instead, he gradually spread his money across different places, ensuring no one could trace his newfound fortune. Secrecy was his greatest advantage, and he wasn't willing to risk it. As days passed, he started seeing results. Small profits from his first investments gave him confidence. He no longer felt helpless. He was finally in control of his life. Each carefully planned step brought him closer to the future dreamed of. However, he reminded himself not to get carried away. Smart investing was a long game, not a quick win. He resisted the temptation to spend recklessly, knowing that patience and discipline were key to lasting success. Looking at his growing list of investments, he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had come a long way from being the boy who struggled to survive. Now, he was someone who could make things happen, one careful decision at a time. Even though things were finally looking up, he knew better than to relax. Success wasn't just about making money, it was about keeping it safe and making the right choices moving forward. He had come too far to let one mistake ruin everything. Sitting in his apartment, he thought about the challenges that lay ahead. Managing his wealth secretly, staying under the radar, and ensuring his success didn't attract the wrong kind of attention, all of it required careful planning. He had to be ready for anything. His first concern was security. Money had a way of drawing unwanted eyes, and the last thing he wanted was for anyone to suspect how much he had. He started by spreading out his investments carefully, keeping some money stored physically, some in hidden bank accounts, and some tied up in investments that wouldn't raise suspicion. The system's guidance helped him understand how to diversify his funds in ways that kept him safe. Next, he focused on his daily habits. He couldn't afford to change his lifestyle too quickly. If he suddenly started living lavishly, people would start asking questions. So, he continued his routine as usual, going to work, wearing the same simple clothes, and acting as if nothing had changed. Every purchase he made was carefully thought out, ensuring it didn't look suspicious or out of place. But financial planning wasn't the only challenge. Mentally, he needed to stay focused and disciplined. Temptation was everywhere. There were moments when he wanted to enjoy his success, to show the world that he was no longer the same struggling boy. But he reminded himself that patience was key. He had worked too hard to throw it all away on short-term pleasures. He also knew that with money came responsibility. People would start noticing the small changes in his life, and sooner or later they'd have questions. He prepared answers in advance, crafting believable stories about working extra hours, saving diligently, and learning about investments from online courses. He needed to stay ahead of any suspicion. Despite all the precautions, doubt still lingered in his mind. What if something went wrong? What if he trusted the wrong person or made a bad decision? Success felt fragile, and the fear of losing it all never left him. But instead of letting it paralyze him, he used it as motivation to keep learning and improving. Late at night, he would sit with his notebook, planning his next moves carefully. Each step was calculated, each risk measured. He knew there would be obstacles ahead. Unexpected expenses, investment challenges, and the constant need to stay unnoticed. But he was ready to face them. In the end, he realized that preparation was his greatest weapon. He couldn't predict the future, but he could control how ready he was for it. And as long as he stayed cautious, disciplined, and focused, he knew he could overcome any challenge that came his way. With a deep breath, he looked around his small apartment, reminding himself why he started this journey. He wasn't just preparing for challenges, he was preparing for a life he had always dreamed of. And this time, he wouldn't let anything stand in his way. As his wealth grew, so did the risks. Hiding stacks of cash under the floor wasn't a long-term solution. The thought of someone accidentally discovering it made him restless. He needed a safer way to manage his money, one that would protect it and allow him to use it discreetly. The system offered advice on secure methods, and he followed its suggestions carefully. The first step was to gradually deposit small amounts into different bank accounts. He opened several accounts at different banks, ensuring no single one would attract suspicion. Each deposit was planned, just enough to look ordinary without raising any red flags. But he didn't stop there. He needed a backup plan. What if something happened to the banks? The system introduced him to the concept of digital wallets and anonymous financial platforms, where he could safely store a portion of his wealth. It was a new idea to him, but with the system's guidance, he quickly learned how to use these tools effectively. He looked into physical security. Keeping all the money in one place felt dangerous, so he divided it into several locations. Some he kept at home, hidden in different compartments, while the rest he secured in rented lockers under false names. The key was to ensure no one could track his fortune. He also started paying more attention to how he handled cash in public. Large bills were broken down into smaller ones, and he made sure to avoid carrying more than he needed. The last thing he wanted was to draw attention by paying for something with unusually large sums of money. Despite all these precautions, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. What if he missed something? He spent hours double-checking his plans, ensuring every step was secure. The system continued to provide tips, reminding him to stay alert and cautious. Each measure he took brought him a little more peace of mind. For the first time, he felt like his wealth wasn't just a burden, it was something he could manage. Safety wasn't just about protecting his money, it was about protecting the life he was building. As he locked away another small bundle of cash in a hidden compartment, he felt a sense of accomplishment.